Hello, this is the entrepreneurial presentation video for Group 1. We interviewed Brian Zullo, who is the owner of New Beginning Custom Homes Incorporated and has the doing business as name of Power Pack Construction. The company was established in 1985 and still does work today. The company specializes in many areas, such as building homes, doing dormers on houses, excavating land, framing, roofing, and much more. Brian Zullo is currently 55 years old, and he established his company, as I said, in 1985. He was a landscaper as a kid and talked about how he always had an interest in manual labor. He attended BOCES for carpenter work in high school, and after high school, he worked in the Carpenters Union for 3 years while doing side work on the weekends. And after about 3 years working in the union, he decided that he wanted to be in control of his own business, so he quit the union to do so. And during that time period, he became a partner of Absolute Construction with his old-time friend. But after not too long of working together, Brian found out that his partner was stealing money. And when he found out, he decided he had to leave. And that's when he actually created his own business known as Power Pack Construction. He said that first opportunity of working for Absolute Construction and realizing the importance the partners had on the business success, that he really needed to make sure he was in control of the company so that he wouldn't let anything like that ever happen again. When asked why carpentry, Brian said that he always had a love for working with his hands, and he saw the opportunity to keep expanding his talents. He also explained that he never saw himself sitting at a desk for the rest of his life doing work. One of the things that isn't stated on the slide, but Brian said, is that he realized throughout the side jobs he was working that he had a talent that other people didn't have, and they needed him to come in and do the work for them. So he really thought he could expand off that as well. As the interview continued, Brian explained that he learned a lot of different aspects from his different jobs, such as working in the union and working a side job while he was in the union. And he said that the valuable things he learned from these previous jobs was in the Carpenters Union. He learned how to frame houses. That was essentially all they did. They'd go into a complex and frame dozens and dozens of houses. But during that time in the union, things he didn't learn that he was able to learn through his side jobs was how to gather a crew, talk to customers, and order supplies. He said that these things were not things he was learning, but they were essential to being successful in his current business, because in the union, he said he would show up to the job and all the material would be there for them, and he never had to think about where it came from. But during the side jobs, that's when he realized that there was a lot more to it than what he was doing in the union. When we asked how he saw the opportunity to create his own business, he said that this was mainly through the side jobs in the union. The side jobs included pretty much everything, he said, especially framing houses because of the knowledge he gained in the union. But he said he also realized that there was a market that needed to be fulfilled, and like I said earlier, he stated that he had a knowledge that other people needed. Um, he also stated that he saw the opportunity because he was making about double the money on the weekend than he was making the whole week during the union, just on the side jobs. And that really pushed him to want to start his own business as well. There were many factors, Brian said, that enabled him to grow, but during the conversation, there were three that seemed to keep being brought up. And the first was the support he had from his previous bosses, which without it, he said he most likely would not have been able to be successful because they lent him their tools when he wasn't able to afford his own. And another factor was that his crew in the beginning sacrificed a lot, especially of the newer technologies. He explained that they initially had to break up concrete by hand instead of using a machine that they have now because they didn't have the money. And sacrificing this newer technology let him save the money and get ahead. And one of the last factors that he talked about a lot was that he was really smart about reinvesting his money, which made it so that he was able to, again, get ahead because he would save his money and then he could buy property, hire new people, get plans for new business drawn up, which he wasn't able to do before that. Brian smiled a lot when we talked about his business and how far we came, and he especially smiled when we asked about what the most rewarding things were. He said he explained a lot that his family struggled before him. He grew up in a house that really had no money. His parents grew up in a house that really had no money. And he said this business has allowed him to give his children a life different than his own. And through this, he was also able to give his children the opportunity to go to school, get an education, go to college, and he put them in a position that he was really never able to be in himself. And he also talked a lot about that he loved the feeling of driving past houses he's built and seeing families outside playing like on the front lawn, and just that they were building a life in a house that he created for them. Although he smiled a lot when we talked about his business, he went on to tell us that there are many, many challenges. He said that there were a lot of difficulties that he had, and some of these included learning how to work with different personalities of workers, also dealing with employees who have drug or alcohol problems. He especially talked about how it was really hard for him to learn how to be a salesman because he was never like that. Learning how to properly price the jobs and maintaining the company's reputation. The last two Brian talked extensively about because he said he had made a lot of mistakes in the beginning because he mispriced properties, and then he'd still have to finish the job because he didn't want to ruin the company's reputation in the meantime because he didn't have the money to finish it, so he would have to put his own money and finish it anyway. When we asked what is a challenge that he continues to face, he smiled and said that it's really just a never-ending process because once you have the money to purchase equipment, then you need to build garages to put that equipment in, then you have to take out insurance on the equipment, and it's just then he said there would be maintenance on the tools. So once you acquire it, there's a lot more that has to be done. When we asked if there was a time if he had any regrets, he said in the beginning there definitely was because he would often see his friends working 9-to-5 jobs and he had to work a lot more in order to get his business to be successful. When we asked what Brian's business plans were for the future, he said that he plans to pass the business onto his son Johnny, who he's trained. And For now, he'll continue to build houses to make sure his son doesn't face the same struggles that he did. And his next business opportunity will be in East Islip, New York. The group 1 takeaways we learned was that from Brian specifically, that he recognized that there was a demand and that outweighed the supply, so he saw the opportunity. He also had proper networking and support through his previous bosses. He also already had knowledge and skills to do the work. And a big thing we realized was that you had to sacrifice certain aspects of your life in order to build your successful business. This entrepreneurial project was extremely eye-opening for our group, as we always learn about entrepreneurs, but here we were actually able to connect with one and truly understand the dedication it takes to succeed. Thank you.